Hello. Welcome to Seepers Paranormal Chronicles. It's your resident host, Lee, and once again, we can welcome back Meghan
Hi.
and Crazy Joe.
Nope. Hello, everyone. How are you today?
Yeah, in case anybody's wondering, the way that we keep up with Joe is plenty of alcohol. That's the only way to cope with him on a regular basis.
Oh, I thought alcohol for me.
It can be. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about paranormal equipment. What do we need, what we don't need, and everything in between. So I'm going to start with a question. Meghan,
Yes.
as a paranormal investigator, what equipment do you currently have?
So I have a REM pod. I have a spirit box. I have a K2. I have rods. I have a recorder. Flashlight, pen and paper, and extra batteries. And that's kind of mostly what I have for my little starter.
Cool. And
That's
Joe,
a little starter?
Yeah, that's a little starter.
Compared to some people, they have like truckloads, and I just have my little things. And everything of mine is pink, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's actually
Pink
got a
everything.
pink REM pod. It's like,
Yes, Morticia is her name. I'm thinking about putting lashes on her.
Oh, God.
I should show you guys.
Yeah, bring it on to the next episode, and it's sort of
Okay,
like,
I will.
yeah, I'm going to start taking Valium or something. Joe, I know you haven't done an investigation for a while, but do you still have any equipment?
Yeah, it's pink, too. Hold on. I've got this. And when it happens, I have the ghost play it. And when they play the entire tune, no, I do have, oh, look at that. Fancy. It's a recorder of a different time. And a flashlight. And probably pen and paper somewhere around here. But flashlight and recorder.
Yeah, and people think that pen and paper is sort of like, but that's one of the go-tos. You need a pen and paper at every single investigation. If you're going to draw, or if you want to do your baseline observations,
Yeah.
your temperature, your electric magnetic field recordings, and you need something to make notes for a start. You need to make notes of where people are, the location, if it's a big location. If you're in a building that's got a lot of artifacts, or if you're in a museum, if anything makes a noise, if you walk past it, draw a plan. There's a door here. There's a draft here.
Yep.
This is hanging from the ceiling. If you brush past it, it's going to make a noise. Make sure that you put down all that information, because it's going to help you in the long run. If you get an unrecognized sound, you go, hang on a minute, I was in this room and I may have brushed past those wind chimes. So it's not as far-fetched as it sounds to actually to have a pen and paper. So
no, absolutely. Because, okay, if you take it from the point of view of you being a ex-paramedic, you had a pen and paper with you, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because you had to
Exactly.
write down what the temperature was, what time, a wristwatch that's not going to pick up on the audio.
Exactly.
You need that stuff to take your notes.
Yeah. And everything's not all about bells and whistles. It's some of the basic things that you need. So, I've got some Exhibit A's.
Okay.
Typical video camera. As long as it's got IR on and you can hold it, you got your fingers ready for the record button. Make sure to take the lens cap off if you've got a lens cap on it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. And like these can be anything between $100 and $200. Not that expensive, but some people can't afford them. At the end of the day, in this day and age, everyone's got cameras on their phones. So as long as the cell phone, is put into airplane mode, you can use the video on the cell phone. Audio device. I've got one similar to what Joe's got.
Huh,
This is a
There
great
you go.
one because it can plug straight into the USB.
Yep.
So you can download it onto your computer as soon as you're finished. Easy stuff. Apart from a flashlight, you don't need anything else to go investigating. Because if you want to record a electronic voice phenomena, you've got your audio device and you've got your video. If you see an apparition, you've got your video. If you're doing a Q&A, a question and answer, you've got your audio and you've got your video that both record. You've got those on your cell phone as well. So you don't really need that much equipment to go on an investigation. If you go on a public investigation, you pay your money, you turn up. If you've got those basics, you're made for the evening, because a lot of these investigations, they will provide all the nice little bells and whistle gadgets that you can use. They're already there, so you don't have to go out and buy them. But there's plenty of websites nowadays that where you can buy just about, you name it, they will sell it to you.
Yeah.
And they will put ghost in front of the title or
Yes.
paranormal. And you don't need all these fancy gadgets. Yeah, they're nice to have. A lot of them produce false negatives. And if you don't know what a false negative is, Joe is about to tell you.
False negative or false positive? False positive means spirit
False
is
positive.
is going to be there, but it's really just something else. And these are things that I was pitching a show called Humbug, where it was, can we see if it is actually a haunting or a paranormal or something else going on? And part of the series, I was making purposeful false positives, because the more expensive the equipment is, the more electronic it is, the easier it is to fool. That's 101. I was making EVPs go off by holding my cell phone battery next to it. And like, oh, look, it's a ghost. Like, no, it's just me palming a cell phone battery.
And that's one thing that you've got to be extremely careful of. All these sensitive gadgets. If you've got a walkie-talkie or you've got your cell phone, in certain scenarios, a lot of these gadgets will be activated by modern technology.
Right. Spirit boxes, we've already been through those where, oh, it sounds like this. Like, well, yeah, of course it sounds like this. It's radio static. It might be something cutting through it. That's not an extra, a spirit and like that. It's just static.
That's it. And one of the basic things that a lot of people rely on, every single person has them. Your sight, your hearing, your smell, and some people can refer to it as a sixth sense. When you just feel that the atmosphere is different, you can sense that it's heavy. Excuse me, I'm about to. I apologise, but Meghan and Joe just got covered in snot.
What was that? I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
We didn't even flinch.
Yeah, yes.
Waiting for it.
Yay. My sneezing's live on the podcast. Yeah, so using your senses, you don't need all the technical equipment. Just trust your body, so to speak. If you hear something, once you can rule out anything natural, then you can start considering it. And a perfect example, I was at a prison as an investigator, not an inmate, before you say anything. And I was in a room with two other guys, and the closest guy was probably about 20 foot away from me. And the next guy was probably about another 5 to 10 feet past them. The closest guy to me was talking. I'm walking around with my camera. I'm also wearing a body cam, and I've got my audio device. I walk out into the corridor, and there was a wall on your left, so the only way you could go was right. I put my camera down the corridor, and as I turned back in again to go back in the room, over all three devices, I just heard like a, and it's like, hang on a minute. And it wasn't the closest guy to me. because you could hear him talking through the entire audio and video clip. It wasn't the guy past him because the sound sounded like it was right next door to me. So as soon as I heard it on the audio, I immediately went to the video and I caught it on the video, just the noise. And I also caught it on my body cam, but I never heard it at the time. So to have multiple devices, multiple tools capturing the same evidence proves that, obviously proves that all three of them picked it up. But it wasn't something that I brushed past or somebody made a sound, because there was nobody else down the corridor. The closest guy to me in the room was still talking and you could hear him. And then this noise came. And this was the same location that on a previous investigation, I was in that room by myself. And as soon as I asked a question if there was anybody there, and yeah, I'd appreciate if anybody could make a response, I got a double breath straight after my question. And Joe checked that through all his little gadgets.
My fancy stuff.
And he had a wavelength to say, yeah, this is your voice. This was the double breath.
Yeah.
And it was two different wavelengths.
Yeah. And that brings to the other point we made in a different podcast episode, where it's a lot of recording and then even more going through the evidence. Like that small thing right there took like a half hour of just listening, cleaning, listening, amping, going through. Does it match this? Does it match that? Does it match this? And so, that was like maybe a second clip.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why you don't skip a single second of when you're reviewing the evidence, because you could miss out on a complete mind-blowing revelation. So we've mentioned about having a notebook and pen. If you are going to go into a multi-room location, try and draw a map of where you're going. Each room, if you've got a door, if you've got windows, because if people say, oh, well, something moves in this room, and then you go up to the window and you have something that measures wind, if you put it up to the window and this fan's happily blowing away, you know that there's a draft coming through. So if they're saying, oh, a curtain moves, you can probably rule it out by having a device that measures wind and such like. So one thing that people tend to forget is cameras powered by batteries, audio devices powered by batteries, flashlights, guess what? Powered by batteries.
Oh,
powered by gremlins. So everything is always, you need extra batteries. Don't forget the extra batteries.
Yes.
And I know for a fact, because I've done it, if you've got a video recorder and it's got an external mic, the external mic has a battery in it that's plugged into the video recorder. Make sure that you turn the mic on. I haven't done that.
I've done that.
And if it's got a lens cap, don't forget to take the lens cap off. Yeah, guilty as charged.
I've done that.
So, yeah, some of the things, if you've got cameras, if you've got more than one, it's always great to have. If you've got a hotspot, is to put a camera on a tripod. If you've got an external power supply to the camera, you don't have to worry about batteries. So, Meghan, you've got audio, but you haven't got a camera. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So, do you ever use your camera? Say that again?
I did have a camera, but not anymore. I'm looking to get a new one.
Okay. But like I say, with regard to your video, make sure that you've got one that's got IR on it, infrared.
Yes.
Otherwise, when you go lights out,
you see nothing.
Your camera won't pick up anything apart from blackness, and that defeats the object. Been there, done that. I forgot to turn the IR on. I'm thinking all through the night, got nothing because I
It's an
forgot
easy
to turn the
mistake,
IR
though.
on.
You just assume. I've probably done
Yeah.
it before.
So now we have checklists.
Yeah.
So have we turned the IR on the cameras? Have we made sure they've got a power supply? So you can go around a location and set cameras up, and we have a checklist. Have you turned the microphones on? Have you turned the cameras on? And we check. We check boxes all the way through. Walkie-talkies, depending on how you use them, can be good if it's a big location. However, there's a lot of devices that can be affected by cell phones and walkie-talkies. So if you don't have to use one, don't.
Yeah. Have you used walkie-talkies? I've not on locations. Our
No.
locations have really been small.
Yeah,
I've been in
exactly. And
investigations where they have
Have
used
you?
them. Yes. Yeah.
How do you differentiate between a walkie-talkie static, possibly static, and an actual EVP?
Honestly, I don't think you can. Like, I don't know. I've when we did them, half were like, yes, let's use them, half were not like them. I didn't like them personally because how do you know that someone that's upstairs isn't doing an EP session and need everything quiet? Then all of a sudden, like someone gets right on the Mikey
Yeah.
and like talks. I find that distracting. And when we were so close together in different rooms, I did notice it did set off devices. Or but how do you know, right? Like you don't know.
Yeah, it's less for you, more for you to go through. Just like
It
a lot of them are going to be even Bluetooth. It still
yeah
affects things. Like as Lee was saying, airplane mode's your friend. So the more you bring into investigation, there's more things that can play against each other,
yeah I agree.
and that's why kind of like the old like piece of paper, pen,
Yeah.
and a flashlight.
It
If you really
also
want to record
echoes
it, record
really
it.
bad, which people don't
Yeah,
realize, especially when you're in abandoned
yeah,
places. They really echo. So maybe you think you hear something, but it could be the echo of the walkie-talkie.
there's a lot of things that can go wrong with the
Yeah.
more technical equipment that you have. But sticking to the basics, like a toolkit, a very small toolkit will come in handy because a lot of these little devices, yeah, when you change the battery, have got little screws. So it's always good to bring your little
yes,
screwdriver with you
Yeah.
so you can change the batteries. Otherwise, that's defunct for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
have you
and
used lidar, the light detection, uh,
I have
ranging, whatever
not.
it is?
I would, if anybody would like to buy me one, I would very much appreciate it.
No, I seen it on T&E channel before, and they look amazing.
Oh yeah,
But but stuff like that is like you can have the spirit, the Ouija board, electronic Ouija boards, right? Like they pop up the letters like a speaking spell now, or the lidar game system where it just looks like Ghostbusters, like the goggles from Ghostbusters. At what point do you think people are over relying on technology than just their own senses?
well, a perfect example. We went to a location and this individual was adamant that she'd got spirits in the house. Absolutely adamant.
Right.
And when we turned up, she'd got her cell phone. She switched on Snapchat and she was walking around the house going, there's a spirit, there's a spirit. And because the Snapchat will pick up or try to identify anything as a human face, if she'd got like a cushion that was dimpled or whatever, it was trying to make it into a face. So everything she saw was a spirit. And in the end, it's like, no, you need to
I
stop
love
using
that.
Snapchat.
I love it. I
Yeah,
think
so
Yeah.
it's like,
I think we
yeah,
should do that. We should do that
yeah, yeah.
investigations.
I recommend that everybody starts using Snapchat and let's see some of the evidence that we get because ghosts will be everywhere.
Yeah. Insta filters. Nice.
Everybody
I
will be able
know.
to see one, and it's
No.
like, yeah, you've got to you've got to know what you're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B, you've got to know how to use it, and C, you've got to know what to do if it goes wrong. So it's all good and well having a video camera, but if you hit something or touch something and it goes out of focus and you don't know how to put it back into focus because you have not read the manual, it's
Right.
junk for the night.
Yeah.
So so no matter what piece of equipment you use, make sure you read the manual, make sure you know how to use that equipment inside out. And plus, if you get false positives because of the equipment's doing X, Y, and Z, then you can rule that out yourself rather than sending that recording to somebody and they go, "Did you have this switched on your camera?" Yes. Oh, that'd be why that's doing that then. And it makes you look a bit foolish.
And I'm pretty sure too, with some of the equipment, like you can tell when the batteries are starting to die too, because they'll be like funky on you as well.
Yeah,
Especially
exactly.
REM pods
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't believe in REM pods, and I've got one here without the antenna. So for all those that don't know, it's a proximity device. You've got the antenna here. As soon as you come up close to it, the lights will flash and it will make an audio sound. Some people don't like them because they can be activated by cell phones and walkie-talkies. However, if you're in a building that's got no electrical, there's no power to the building, and you put it in the middle of a room, and there's nothing that can make it activate, and it goes off, something has to be close to it. Granted, it could be, it's not going to be activated by dust because they're not that sensitive, but something has to be close to it to activate it. So as long as you can say, hand on heart, my phone's switched off, or it's on airplane mode, or my walkie-talkies are switched off, and something goes off, it's got to put a few more questions into your head, for sure. So one thing, so using the apps that are on the cell phones as well, a lot of these apps can be a little bit dubious as well.
Right.
Are they listening to what you're saying and then come out with relevant words?
Yeah.
But like I said in the previous podcast, if a word comes out, don't put that word into the investigation.
No.
It has to connect to the investigation, not just a random word. So some of the things, apart from what we've already mentioned, I've already mentioned the anemometer for wind speed, wind pressure, and barometric pressure. Comes in handy if you're in a drafty room. You can isolate where the drafts are coming from. I've already mentioned your audio device, an absolute must-have. It comes in very handy. In a previous episode, we mentioned black mold detectors. Yeah, if you're going to do it the right way, then you have to rule out every natural phenomena before you start.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. You can go to a hardware store and pick up a lot of great gear for under $100 total.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heat
absolutely.
mapping
Yeah.
itself is priceless.
Yeah. One thing that you see a lot of paranormal teams use are cat balls, motion activated light balls. So you switch them on and you put them on a surface and you walk away. They activated by touch and vibration. So in an ideal world, if you're nowhere near it and you're on a concrete floor, by stamping on the floor, you're not going to activate the cat ball. But if it goes off, what's caused it to go off? Like I say, there's a lot of questionable evidence because they can activate by, like I say, by motion, touching, and vibration. So yeah, you've got to be very cautious when you're using some of these devices.
Well, absolutely. But you can also we used to use a flashlight that I rigged so it would go on or off, not by the button. So you're like, please, whatever it is, it kind of like,
yeah.
So the device, if you've got a little mag light, you can turn it on just to the point of contact,
Yeah.
but it's not on. Put it on a location, and it lights up, potentially by a spirit. However, there's a lot of evidence to say, well, what it is, because you're technically shorting the light, it's putting the element of the light on itself, on the flashlight, and then it cools down and it goes out. But if that was the case all the time, there would be a rhythm to it.
Right.
Short, turn the light on the element, cool down, switch it off, and then it would go through it again. And it would be kind of in a nice little rhythm. But if it's doing it randomly, like if you answer a question and it goes off, and then you ask for a response and so it comes on and then goes off, is that paranormal activity? We can't say for definite, but you've always got that potential that the scientists going, well, you're shorting the flashlight, so it's doing that. But there must be times when it goes off where you can say, well, it's not doing it regularly enough for it to be a shortening of the.
Yeah, and it's doing it in twos, 2 for yes, 1 for no.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
can't explain it. So
yeah.
what it is.
And one thing that I've got that's it's really good is a EMF recorder, electromagnetic field. Some people have the K2s, which are basically just little lights, green to red. So the higher the EMF reading, it will go from red to amber to orange to red. So from green to red, sorry. But this one that I've got, the Tri-Field, is more accurate, and it has a numeric recording on it. So if you put it up to electrical device, and it will get a really high reading, and it will actually spike as well, so you can say how far or how high the recording went. Those things can be really handy, especially when you're in a place that hasn't got electricity around it. But what I always do, I will always walk around a location before with my EMF reader and pinpoint if there's any high spots, and then make a record on my notepad of where that hot spot is. Remember going to a location where somebody was saying, oh, if you sit at this table, you get a lot of activity. And we was on like the 3rd floor. So, okay, what's below? Oh, it's exactly the same layout, but it's occupied by a private residence. Okay. So I'll put the EMF meter on the table, a little bit higher than what it should have been in the middle of a room, put it to the floor, and it went off the scale.
Right.
And she said that it was an exact copy downstairs and upstairs. So what was above me was a light fitting. So below me would have been a light fitting.
Yeah.
So it was going off because there was a potential electronic fault with the light fitting causing high EMF.
More common than not.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Especially in older homes.
Yeah.
Just Canada in general.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that people swear by as well is the ghost box. This is an SP11. You've got AM and FM on it, and it can scan forwards, it can scan backwards, and you can change the speed. This is what's used in the Estes method as well. A lot of people go, well, you are picking up radio stations, but in reality, it's going past that fast that it's not going to pick up any music. It's not going to pick up the DJ. So some people don't believe in them, but a lot of people do use them to see how they work. Like I say, there's different types and varieties. There's another version of a similar thing called a ghost box portal, which is it's like the size of a vintage radio. So that kind of thing, similar sort of process. It scans frequencies, and allegedly you're able to pick out words. words that are relevant to the investigation, not random. If it's a Monday and you ask what day it is and you hear a Monday, that's relative to the investigation. If you say what day it is and you get beefcake, it's not relevant to the investigation.
Well, it is if I'm there because it knows it's talking about me.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about food all the
Beefcake.
time.
It's a Monday.
Yeah. So there's many, many, many different pieces of equipment. Yeah, like I have a body cam that's on the entire time of the investigation. Some of the bigger teams have multiple cameras in static locations. Meghan and I have both been on them where you've got 6 static cameras.
Yep.
They record audio. They do infrared. So, but again, in theory, you've got all that evidence to review. However, a lot of these bigger systems are more conscious of movement. So you can look through the log, and if there's no movement, you don't really have to review the evidence. But if there's movement and there's nobody in the room, that's when you have to review it.
Right.
So we mentioned the REM pod. There's different REM pods. Our team's got a REM pod that's in the shape of a cigarette box, and the cigarette coming out of it is the antenna. That's activated when there's been nobody close by. So, like I say, there's so many different gadgets that you can use, but you've got to split it between monitoring equipment, stuff you can buy in the hardware store, to pseudoscience equipment, your REM pods and all your little toys and gadgets. Because if you've got a thermal camera, then you can see if there's any heat changes. That's natural phenomena. That's nothing to do with paranormal. However, if you see a cold spot in a corridor, then what is it? So it's always good to have some sort of thermometer as well, not the old sort that you used to stick under your tongue when you was a kid. But if you get like electronic thermometer, if there's cold spots, you'll get a drop in temperature. So it's always good to take a baseline recordings throughout the building, EMF, like wind pressure if you're in a drafty premise, thermometers, stuff like that, to get a baseline of what's happening. So if you get a cold spot or you get a hot spot, then you can record it accordingly.
And be wary of that, because like if you are a house inspector, you know that some people just don't insulate everywhere equally.
Yep.
So you're going to have some cold spots, but they're always going to be their area. The cold spots we were talking about for paranormal are the ones that move.
Yeah.
Versus this is like, oh, that's just bad insulation.
Yeah, for sure. I like to say, and I tend to be the dude that buys all the technical equipment, all the monitoring stuff. So the stuff that will measure natural phenomena, and then I have a few little toys and gadgets. But my other colleague does have a few more little toys and gadgets that he likes to play with. But they've got to be in such a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Because you watch TV, these REM pods are going off left, right, and centre. The cat balls are flashing, and all these gadgets are going off. However, all you see is what's in front of the camera. You can't see what's behind the scenes if someone's clicking a walkie-talkie. So, all these devices can work in your favour if they are controlled adequately. We could talk all night about all the different gadgets, and the Ovilus 5, for example. It's a device that's got a bank of words in, and allegedly the spirit is allowed to communicate and to pick up words. There's a phone app called the Necrometer, exactly the same sort of thing. And weird experience with the Necrometer. We went to an investigation in a house, and allegedly there was some activity in the basement. The cell phones weren't switched on because we were driving to the location. Switched on for GPS, but not the particular app wasn't switched on. And we passed a cemetery, we passed a graveyard, pulled into the premises, and half the house was built in 1875 and half of it was built in 1950. Okay, we go down into the basement just for shits and giggles. We turn the device on, and the first words to come out of it were cemetery, graveyard, 1875, come and find me. Now, if these apps are designed to listen to what you're saying, we didn't mention that there was a cemetery or a graveyard outside. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't mentioned in normal conversation. So where did those words come from? A little bit of a coincidence, the fact that both of them were just outside the location.
See, I've seen them used, but I've always been skeptical because I've seen it in my mind like the speak and spell.
Yeah.
If you can manipulate the speak and spell, you can talk to me. Well, I've seen Fred Durst manipulate a speak and spell for a song. So it's a bit, especially if you see it on TV, I always question reality TV shows never reality.
Yeah, exactly. And in this day and age, things can be manipulated. You've got AI. You've got so many things that cannot be true in front of your own eyes due to technology that try and stick to the basics. But if you are going to use all these gadgets that have got the whistles and the bells on, use them in a controlled environment.
Absolutely.
The good old-fashioned things of dowsing rods, again, can also be manipulated.
Yeah.
People in the good old days when Joe was a kid used to use the Ouija board, and people think that's a kid's toy. We sampled the Ouija board at one particular investigation, but we made sure that all users were blindfolded, and it never moved. So, is it manipulation by the individuals? Yeah, it's something that you can't really answer. But be mindful of the fact that outside sources, outside technology can influence a lot of these devices. So stick to the basics and investigate your heart out. Joe, have you had any situations that have involved these gadgets, or have you never used them back in the day? Or
back in the day, EVP yes, spirit boxes yes, obviously stuff like the flashlights and the IR cameras, yeah, and EVP stuff. But it's and two mediums, but it is the use of, as you're saying, in a controlled environment. So if you're doing it outside, you're like, oh, I wonder what this cold spot is. Like, well, it's freezing outside. That's what it is. Like the wind just blew. It's that.
minus 25.
Yeah, it's or the spirit box is going back and forth and it starts picking up stuff. It's also picking up the car radio going by.
Yeah.
It's some sort of like someone's not a cell phone driving by you. That type, you can't control for everything, so you have to question the things you get. In a smaller houses, it's a bit different, but like the code, like housing, even allegedly with the housing codes there, people don't follow code, so you're going to have exposed wires. You're going to have wires just seeping through for EVPs.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be seeping through for any type of like, oh, it's my EMP field. Like, well, no, that's just the light bulb. So yeah, I've used them, but I never I wouldn't say like, this is a ghost because of it. It's curious when they all light up at the same time, and then you try to investigate what that is. But that's as far as I really take to it might be something, as far as I take it though.
Yeah, like I say, you've got to be logical about how you use these things, when you use them, and what's around you. Yeah, as far as Meghan's concerned, as long as it's pink, she's happy.
Yes, you can get it in pink.
Yeah. Or have a recorder.
Yeah.
So, Morticia, or whatever her name was, your REM-pod,
yes.
Have you ever actually had her go off?
Yes, we have. Not a lot. It takes a lot for her to go off, but she has gone off a few times. So that was
And
pretty cool.
yeah,
I think she went
and that's
off when I was in the woods.
right, okay. Because we was at the other location when you was in the woods, so we didn't really
Yes,
see much of your
yes.
investigation.
So she went off once there. So that was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
but even with something as simple as a REM pod, yeah, if the battery starts going, you're going to get adverse reactions, and it's going to go
Yeah,
off. And the same with a cat ball. If the battery's going, it's going to go off.
yeah,
So yeah, if you're being conscious about what you're investigating and you're being logical, just because something's going off and it's going off intermittently, don't
yeah,
automatically think it's going to be something paranormal. It could be, oh, I just need a new
yeah.
battery.
Right. But
Exactly,
they usually don't
exactly.
happen all at once, though.
No,
If
exactly.
your
If
REM
No.
pod
everything's
goes
going off
off
all at
and this
once,
happens and this
yeah,
happens, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because if you're a human being and you walk past them all and they all go off as you walk down the corridor, that's because you're walking past them. If
Right.
that happens and no one's doing it, it's not a battery and all of it, and it's not radio communication and all of it either.
It's like your
exactly.
3 microphones picked up something that you couldn't hear, but all
Yeah.
3
Mhm.
picked it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's something to be questioned further.
Yeah.
Right, guys, we've reached the end of another episode.
Yay.
For
Yay.
people that are
25,
listening,
right?
yeah, episode 3426.
Season
Yeah,
18.
yeah.
So, for anybody that's listening, if you have any questions on equipment or you want some advice on equipment, please feel free to reach out on any of our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we're also on YouTube.
What are your
So,
handles for that? Is it SIPA Canada, SIPA
yeah, I think if you just
SIPA?
if you type in SEPA Canada, SIPA, or especially for Facebook, I believe there is a Facebook link on the introductions to the podcast,
Cool.
and I think we have the links to all those on there. But we're always posting videos, so
Yep.
come and follow us and see what we find.
Very
But
cool.
once again, I thank you both for your attendance on this nice summer afternoon
Yes, breezy.
Yeah.
So breezy.
in
Yep.
I can't
in
wait to.
February when
Can't wait
it's
to enjoy the
minus
sun.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're okay. You was on vacation a few weeks ago in the sun.
Yes, I miss it. Take me back.
Didn't get a suntan, mind you, but she was on vacation.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.